Mark Ritchie for Real Vision, coming to you from the absolutely frozen tundra of Chicago suburbs with a really special guest for the Real Vision audience, Jim Roppel Capital Management, Bitcoin or Blockchain Opportunity Fund, and Growth Stock Mentor. Jim, thanks a bunch for being with us.
I'm honored to be here. Honored to have you interview me. I mean, it was great meeting you when we started talking, several months back. That's been great.
It's been, I think I said to my business partner, this guy feels like my older brother from another mother. So we have a lot in common. I feel like we could talk for a long time about all kinds of things, but I really want you to start. So just to kind of frame where I'd like to take things is how you started your career and then how in the world you wound up, from a successful hedge fund manager then to saying, I want to start also a crypto hedge fund on top of it. But I just know there's a lot of people in the Real Vision audience who really will find your story inspiring. And I just think it seems to me we're in a period of time right now where there are more supposed experts who have not done what they have claimed, at least in my view, to have really done. So if you want to teach somebody how to climb a mountain and you've never climbed a mountain, you've got no business, in my opinion, teaching anybody anything. And I think your story is one that I know for people that are watching Real Vision trying to learn, how do I go from a small amount of humble beginnings, small amount of wealth to build what is a life-changing amount of wealth. You're the guy they should be listening to, or one of the voices I think they should be listening to. So let's start from the humble beginnings. How did you get into trading, in the school of hard knocks, if you will, and figure this out?
Well, it was a very, very long road, and I did not figure it out for like a decade. If you read John Boyk's book, he chronicles me blowing up 3 times to zero. So it was a long, long road. It started really with my dad. Let's put it in perspective here. I grew up in a house my dad bought for $7,000 on the very last street in a town called Park Ridge, on a busy street. So it was the lesser of the area, but it's a very wealthy area. And, we had 1 car. My mom couldn't take off during the day, so they didn't have any money. But my dad inherited a little bit of money from my grandfather. And my dad was he loved to have fun, and he was a kind of a gambler. So he loved the stock market. He'd buy his 10 shares, and that just kind of was in me. My dad always said, I want to be successful, and he instilled that in me. And then he bought Bally pinball machines, because I was always at the 7-Eleven playing Space Invaders, and his family worked at the Bally pinball machine stamping factory. They were German Russian immigrants, and Bally went from 18 to 80. And so high school had Commodore stock, and one of my friends was from a wealthier family, and he was in the market. So I was all around it. I go to college. First of all, I'm dyslexic. I went on the learning disabled program.
No kidding.
So I'm not, I'm a very mediocre, average intelligence. I'm not stupid, but I'm not a rocket scientist like all these crypto guys. We can diverge, but the crypto world is 2 people. Really smart technologists, usually very young, who've never traded. They know the fundamentals so much more than is necessary. They know these protocols, but they've never traded. They're all hodlers. Then you've got this contingency of really, really smart hedge fund guys who recognize a bull market when they see it and an opportunity, but they're super different skill sets. And in the end, trend followers win out over fundamentalists most of the time. But I'm way off base. I went to college. I met a guy named who inherited some money, unfortunately, because of a death in his family. And he had, it was a concrete company, which was bought by Paramount, PCI. And Paramount was the bull market stock of the 80s. I mean, the go-go stock. The market crashed. I had a degree in advertising and marketing with a lot of economics in there. Loved it. And then my best friend in college, his father was a stockbroker. So I just was all in, but I was Johnny one lot option trader. I would buy 10 shares of stock, and I did what my dad did. I bought biotechnology. The crash of 87 occurred. I graduated in December of 87. So the crash had just occurred.
Baptism by fire.
Totally. I won't even go into my misfortune with that, but I was hooked. And so there were no recruiting. No one was recruiting from a dyslexic kid on a disabled program from Southern Illinois University. So I went to kind of like a penny stock shop. First interview, they hired me on the spot. Cold call king, realized there was a shady operation. My dad's broker then hired me.
Sounds like Wolf of Wall Street.
No, it was absolutely the Wolf of Wall Street. It was a chop shop type thing. And then my dad's broker hired me at a regional firm, which was great. They took me under their wing. They taught me a lot, like here's a phone book and cold call. But it's very difficult to cold call a lot of people, get them to give you 10, 20 grand and then lose it because you don't know what you're doing. And then I found Can Slim through Bill O'Neill. I found the newspaper and I just dove into it because multiple times I would build these giant positions. Like one of them was Senecor, and they had a drug called Centoxin, which was supposedly curing septicemia. It got FDA approval. And then the oddity of all oddities, 98% of all drugs, once they get the FDA approval, get full approval. Well, the FDA did not approve it. And the stock just imploded from like 60 to 3. And that happened multiple times. I didn't know a thing about what the catalysts were, what drove leading stocks. But Bill O'Neill taught me all of that. And I dove headlong into it. And, this will factor into Matt D'Souza later and about drive. But I literally was so engulfed with this. I would drive to the local newspaper depot at midnight to get the next day's paper and read it in the middle of the night. And I did it over and over. And the truck drivers would be on the loading dock. They'd go, "Here, kid, you're an idiot," and throw me the free paper. And then I'd sit in my car and read the thing.
We're talking Investors Business Daily, correct?
Yes.
So just for those who don't, who aren't even familiar, there's a lot of people in the Real Vision audience. Can Slim, Bill O'Neill, just give us a little background primer there.
Bill O'Neill, legend, made epic amounts of money. I mean, thunder. I would say if he didn't pay as much taxes as Warren Buffett and he didn't blow all his money building out massive $20 million, $30 million advertising campaigns, he'd be, so his method, he analyzed the greatest winning stocks for the last 100 years, basic market theory, mean revision, what they teach you in college. Bill said, that's crap. Forget that. Let's look at what really makes them go. And he built a model called Can Slim, and I'm not going to go over it. It's an acronym, but it changed my life because I would say I'm the greatest knockoff artist in the world. I feel like the Japanese had it right. Why invent anything when you could just follow a master who's written the book, gives public lectures? I went to see him publicly. I saw him speak over 30, 40 times live, maybe more, maybe a lot more over 30 years.
Wow.
So I built my retail career as a stockbroker. I was a compliance nightmare for Morgan Stanley, Northern Trust. And my trading volume was huge and my commissions were thunderous.
Was that because you were trading too large or?
No, I was cutting my losses immediately, which caused turnover. And they're like, turnover's bad. What's going on? But my performance, I was crushing the market and people followed me because I was making money for them. And finally they said, well, it was bad for me because it was I was always last in. I didn't have discretion. I had to call every customer and say, hey, Mr. Ritchie, would you buy 1,000 shares of XYZ? And you'd buy it and I'd be driving this thing up all day. And then I'd go buy my couple thousand and it cost me 10 grand to buy my own stock. And so finally, between compliance and pushing the stocks around, I said this, and I wanted to be on the same side of the table. I wanted to fight the market with my partners. We're all on this side fighting those guys.
What a concept.
And the brokerage model is deeply flawed. Yes, brokers want to make money for their customers, but they really want to gather assets. And if you say to a retail broker, the number one question you should ask is, how are you going to protect me in a bear market? And they're going to go, oh, well, you're diversified. That's crap. That's a hedge for ignorance. You need to sell and go to cash or really hedge with options. No broker has the ability to do that with these managed accounts and ETFs and all this crap. They just want their wrap fee.
Hey, if you like this clip, be sure to check out the full interview and more only on realvision.com/crypto. It's 100% free. Sign up now.